I'm trying not to be too late to the party on this one. I'm recording this on August 8th. You're likely going to see it August 12th. It's not a D&D video, so it doesn't have to stay in the same Sunday schedule. Nolan's Odyssey was recently released to a huge wave of criticism and controversy, much of which is well-founded. I mean, why are they wearing their anachronistic helmets while they're rowing the boat? It just doesn't make any sense. But, okay, there's a lot of things that can be said in his favor, too. Well, not exactly a lot, but there are some things that can be said in his favor. For example, he's trying to cram what amounts to a 14-hour epic poem read aloud into a 3-ish hour movie. You can't really blame him for leaving a bunch of stuff out or changing a few things to make it fit the format. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. Now, I'm more interested in the parts of the story that we don't have anymore. The Iliad and the Odyssey, which are what we have left, they're not standalones. They're parts 2 and 7 of an 8-part epic cycle. So, it's called the epic cycle, and that's one of 3 poetic cycles. Very, very long. They make up the worldview, mythology, and remembered history of ancient Greece in the time of Homer. So, yeah, a mytho-history. We've got general outlines, plot summaries for most of them. We don't have the entire poems or or even large portions of the poems. Basically, what we got left is somewhere between fuck and all. We've got part 2 and part. Imagine watching a TV series and only a running TV series and only seeing the second episode and the second last episode, and trying to figure out what it's all about. We got quotations of specific lines, quoted by much later but still ancient authors, and the plots recounted by Roman writers, papyrus fragments with single lines on them, stuff that's barely still legible. Now, the 8-part story, this one is called the Epic Cycle. It recounts the Trojan War, which is likely built from cultural memories of the end, the Bronze Age collapse. Before that, chronologically, is the Theban cycle, which is 4 parts, recorded to have been about 7,000 lines each. Before that is the Titanomachy, and that's where we'll start. The Titanomachy is an archaic epic. It's about a great war between the Titans and the Olympian gods. We have roughly 10 lines of the original poem recovered from ancient sources, again from later writers. We have the overall plots of the story. The closest thing we have to a complete version is Hesiod's Theogony, but that focuses on deific family trees more than anything else. It's not talking about specific battles or cities or kings or historic memories. This is the purely mythological part. The second part of this 3-epic saga is called the Theban cycle. Might actually have some cultural memory in there. It's pertaining to actual events, but there's nothing to verify that at this point. It focuses on the house of Oedipus and wars against Thebes. So They're supposed to be taking place during the height of the Bronze Age and battles between Egyptian and Greek city-states. The first part of the Theban cycle is the Edopodia. We know it was 660 lines. That's what we're told. That's what is recorded in later ancient documents. We have a couple of direct lines. A mention of the Sphinx as a cruel monster that ate Haemon, the son of Creon. Ancient writers noted that in this version, Oedipus did not have children with his mother, Jocasta. Instead, his children came from a second wife named Eurygania. And the ancient records, it's recorded that a Spartan poet named, see if I can pronounce this, Kinaethon wrote it. Part 2 is the Thebaid. Supposed to be 7,000 verses. Lines and verses seem to be interchangeable terms as I'm researching this. There's only about 4 lines of actual text surviving. Excuse me. As I said, 4 lines of actual text. It's quoted and preserved by later writers like Athenaeus, and in the Contest of Homer and Hesiod. We know it detailed a conflict between the Eteocles and Polynices for the throne of Thebes. It includes Oedipus cursing his sons over the way a dinner table is set up. We also have a Latin translation for this one, and there's some debate as to how accurate to the original the Latin version is. But the Latin version is 12 books written by Statius during the reign of Domitian in the 1st century AD. A lot of background noise outside. Give me a second. Better. The entire text, this entire text, the Latin version, it survived through being copied into medieval manuscripts. It details a complete story of what are called the Seven against Thebes, a duel between the brothers and the mourning and burial of the dead. But we still don't know exactly how it compares to the original. Part 3 is the Epigony. This one is sometimes attributed to Homer. It's about the sons who avenged their fathers. Out of an estimated 7,000 lines or verses, all we got's the opening line. That's all we have left. It's, "Now, muses, let us begin to sing of younger men." Now, beyond that opening verse, there's minor prose summaries and a few scattered quotes. The playwright Sophocles later wrote a tragedy called The Epigony, but it's also a lost text. There's a handful of short quoted fragments from ancient lexicons and one small multi-line papyrus scrap of this one that was found in 2005. The details... it details where the sons of the Seven against Thebes successfully captured and tore down the walls of the city. Again, it survives only through later mythological summaries and library handbooks, like one's called the Bibliotheca, which is attributed to Apollodorus, and travel accounts by Pausanias. Part 4 of the Theban cycle. This one's hard to pronounce. Alkmionis. Alkmionis. Okay. It's about Alcmaeon killing his mother. The entire original text is gone. We only know it through very brief quotations and mentions by later people. Bits and pieces have been quoted and explained. We have 7 direct records, citations, linked to that poem. We don't even know who wrote it. No author's name was ever recorded. It's referred to as Alkmionis by the author of the Alkmionis. Even they didn't know. The few surviving bits include descriptions of a funeral banquet, a mention of a shepherd named Antiochus involved with Atreus's golden lamb, a line that calls Zagreus the highest of the gods, and a note about a happy life during the reign of Cronus. The poem focused on Alcmaeon, who killed his mother, named Eriphyle, because she took bribes to send his father, Amphiaraus, to his death in the war against Thebes. It follows Alcmaeon's journey after the murder, dealing with themes of madness, purification, and appears to have woven in other mythological parallels, like the story of the Golden Lamb. Let's see if I can get this to scroll up. Okay, so some of the plots are remembered, references by Sophocles and other later Greek writers and tragedians. But that's it. That's all we've got. The names, a few lines here and there, and some of the plots, but we know there's a story there, and it's about the height of the Bronze Age. So a lot of mythology mixed into it, but there might be some true stories or true-ish stories or recounting of actual events dealing with the war against Thebes. Okay, we finally get to the epic cycle, the big one. 8 poems. Estimates and recountings say they're 10,000 lines each, or more than 10,000 lines each. That makes them on par with the Odyssey and the Iliad. It starts with the Kypria. There's about 50 lines from the original scattered, surviving as quotations in works of later ancient writers, and remember, these things are supposed to be 10,000 lines long. So we got 50 of them. There is a detailed plot summary from late antiquity, attributed to a scholar named Proclus. This poem served as a prequel to Homer's Iliad. It covers the divine causes of the Trojan War, which gods were involved, the wedding of Peleus and Thetis, the judgment of Paris, and the gathering of the Greek fleet at Aulis, and the first 9 years of the Trojan War. The Iliad, it's 15,000 lines long. Third is the Aethiopus. It details the arrival of Penthesilea and Memnon and the death of Achilles. This one's mostly lost, save for the prose summary by Proclus. And there's 5 individual lines of the original verse, scattered quotations by later writers. Proclus's summary is a detailed prose overview in, his collected book is called the Crestomathy. Got to pronounce that right. It outlines the entire plot structure. Okay, here's what we know. Penthesilea, the Amazon queen, arrives to aid Troy. She fights and is killed by Achilles. Memnon, the Ethiopian king, arrives with divine armor made by Hephaestus. He kills Antilochus and is subsequently killed by Achilles. Achilles chases the Trojans into the city and is killed by Paris and Apollo. Achilles' body is rescued, then buried, then magically transported to the White Island by Thetis. And there's a dispute over his armor between Ajax and Odysseus. It's good that a lot of this was quoted, summarized and remembered by later writers. That's the only reason we know anything, considering how little of the original is left. And remember, this is part 3 of 8. The Ilias Mikra. There's about 30 lines of the original text. That's what we have today. They're scattered poetic fragments, brief quotations by later writers, and the prose summary by Proclus. We know little less about this one. Between Odysseus and Ajax, the contest for Achilles' armor, Ajax loses. He goes mad and commits suicide. Epeius builds the wooden horse. The heroes hide inside it, and the Trojans bring it into the city. The prophet Helenus is captured by Odysseus and Achilles' son, Neoptolemus, arrives. That's part 4. That brings us halfway through. Part 5 is the Iliou Persis, which is the sack of Troy, the fall and destruction of the city. What remains of it consists of a short prose summary, again by Proclus. We owe that guy a lot. There's a tiny handful of surviving single-line verse fragments, quoted by later authors, and there are artistic depictions on Greek pottery. Not a lot. 10 lines of the original, and we've got the least of this one out of all of them so far. Part 6 is called the Nostoi. It's the stormy and difficult journeys going home for all of the Greek heroes except for Odysseus. The prose summary in the Crestomathy by Proclus, he's the reason we know any of this, honestly, and even know what to look for. The text, he gives the entire outline of the plot. Only about 5 or 6 lines of the actual poem survive, only because they were quoted by later Greek tragedies, later authors like Pausanias and Athenaeus. Although parts of the story have lived on through later Greek tragedies and other works that used its plot to build plays on. The Odyssey, we have it, it's 12,000 lines. It would take 14 hours to read it out loud. All of these are about the same size, remember. The part 8, the end of the story, is called the Telegony. It's Odysseus's later life and his death, and we have 2 lines of the original text alongside the prose summary in the Chrestomathy. Give it up for Proclus. He has saved so much in his lifetime just by writing a summary. And it's like I said, there are 2 direct fragments, 2 lines. That's all we got. That's the only reason it's in the historical record. But we know who wrote this one, at least, or who it's attributed to. That being Eugamon of Cyrene. So here's how the story ends. Odysseus buries the suitors and travels to Elis and Thesprotis. Odysseus marries Queen Callidice of Thesprotis and leads a war against the Brygi. I don't know who any of these are. Theogonus, who is Odysseus' son by Circe, searches for his father, lands on Ithaca, accidentally kills Odysseus with a stingray bone spear. Telegonus takes Odysseus' body, Penelope, and Telemachus back to Circe's island, where they become immortal. Telegonus marries Penelope, and Telemachus marries Circe. So, that's all we really have of these. Plot outlines, fragments, 1 Latin translation in the Theban cycle. We've only got 10 lines of the Titanomachy, and we don't even know how long that one is. The only reason we know any of this, again, is because of later Greek and Roman writers mentioning it and quoting them and summarizing them into shorter prose narratives. But since they finally started being able to read the carbonized scrolls at Herculaneum, there's at least an outside chance that, you know, we might find more of the story. If that happens, I'm sure somebody's going to make a big budget movie out of it for everybody to complain about. I think a better idea would be a long-form TV series out of it. You know, things like The Sopranos or Game of Thrones is something that could last for several years for a company like Netflix, and there's no copyright on ancient mythology. It's all public domain, meaning there's 1 less expense for producers. Now picture 8 seasons just for the epic cycle. Thanks to Proclus, there's enough to write a script from. I think people would watch it. Whether they like it or not doesn't matter. If people watch it, the production company makes money. And the best part, if they do it as historically accurate as possible, everyone will see how good things could have been, and more people will hate Nolan's movie. Alright, like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you next time.